I want to introduce the panel. This is a powerful conversation on youth-led innovation in mental health and healthcare equity. Brie, an interdisciplinary researcher and GLOW board member, joins the stage with GLOW's youth president, CEO, and young leaders to share how they're redesigning access to care across India and why investing in youth is key to driving bold, creative impacts. And with that, I would love to invite you, Brie, to stage.
Robin, thanks for the introduction. It's great to see everyone. For those of you who are in the US, like I am, good morning. If you're in Europe, good afternoon. If you're in India, good evening. It's great to see such a fantastic global community gathered here today. And I'm excited to dive into what we are going to be discussing today. So I'd like to have each of the panelists introduce themselves. Before we get there, just to tap in again to what Robin said, if you guys have questions, comments, thoughts, please feel free to use the chat. I'll get to those as soon as I can. Most likely, we might get that towards the end of the panel. We'll be able to answer questions that have more of a communal conversation too, which will be fantastic. But to kick us off is the founder and president of GLOW, Tricia. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Brie. Hi, everybody. I'm Tricia. I'm passionate about career expression, meaningful service, and making a real difference in the lives of others. I'm the author of Believe in Yourself, and I wrote it with the hope of encouraging strength and optimism in kind of children facing hardship mainly. And I wanted to kind of offer the same support that I had to mentors, to fellow high schoolers, and because of that, I founded GLOW. So GLOW is a platform that equips these high schoolers with the tools to lead local community-driven initiatives, and our work has reached hundreds of thousands, including raising health awareness, offering multilingual tools and workshops, and also delivering essential resources to areas in crisis. And I'm excited to continue this work at Berkeley next year. And yeah, I'm happy to be here and have this conversation with everybody else. Yes.
Awesome. Thanks, Tricia. Yeah, rising freshman at Berkeley, another young voice. And to get even younger as our next panelist to introduce herself, Ava, would you like to introduce yourself to everyone?
Hi, I'm Alva. I'm 16 years old. I'm from Seattle, Washington. I think I'm really all about being able to leverage local policy in order to create change. A little bit about me is that my journey with policy and advocacy started with debate when I was 11 years old. I started engaging on debate on the international stage, and I got to hear so many cool perspectives, and I got to hear a lot about how different policy changes could influence individual communities. From there, I stepped into more of a real-world role, representing over 22,000 students within my school district and being able to inform district-wide policy on a variety of issues. From there, I really wanted to help empower more youth to be able to platform their voices. So I created a youth-led organization called Youth for Local, where we helped over 600 teens get more involved in our local community, supporting local businesses and things like that. And then I went on to empower more young people to spread their voices in policy with more debate initiatives. And we've been able to help bring the activity to over 100 kids who may not have had access to it otherwise. I really feel like all of that work culminated in my role as well as civilian welfare director and policy analysis director, because I think that so much of the work we do here is it's almost like putting the things that I've spent so much time learning about in debate and in representing my community into practice on a global stage. So yeah, I'm really excited to have this opportunity to share some of my experience with you guys.
Awesome. Thanks for that fantastic introduction, Ava. Sonika, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yeah, so hi, my name is Sonika, and I'm a 15-year-old in Colorado in the US. And at GLOW, I serve as the Youth Director of Health Research, where I lead initiatives addressing breast cancer stigma and postpartum depression disparities in the US and India. And outside of GLOW, I am a teen court attorney, where I represent youth with misdemeanors in my county's juvenile justice system. I also compete in debate where I focus on moral issues. So overall, I'm passionate about using research and advocacy in policymaking. And I'm so excited to be here today.
Awesome. Samarth, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Of course. Hi, my name is Samarth Khurana, and I'm a 17-year-old rising senior in Texas. The way that I like to start introducing myself is by telling everybody that I'm an Eagle Scout. It's the highest rank in Boy Scouts of America. And to me, it's a commitment to leadership that I have. It's that same passion and that commitment that I try to bring to Glow. And I originally started at Glow as a youth food security researcher, where I was absolutely fascinated by how economic changes could bring an impact socially. And after my first couple of months working at Glow, I stepped up into the role of partnership coordinator. And with my aim of increasing impact, I helped establish some partnerships with nonprofits that could help increase Glow's ability to create change and that could also use Glow's help to do the same. I also grew into the role of hiring new interns, which taught me not just how to keep correspondence and hold interview meetings, but also allowed me to teach Glow mindsets and plant seeds of change that I hope grow into the leaders of the future. And I'm really excited to get the conversation going today.
Awesome. Magna, would you like to introduce yourself next?
Yes. Hello, everybody. I'd like to first and foremost, I'd like to thank the Davos for giving us this opportunity to be here and talk about our work. So my name is Dr. Meghna Reddy, a dedicated medical doctor from India. I think my journey began in medicine. It began after working in rural community health centers, which are primarily resource settings. And I've been profoundly influenced by the challenges that I've faced. And these experiences have deepened my commitment to serving, but they've also taught me the value of empathy, resilience, and understanding. So they've also played a pivotal role in my decision to pursue a career in public health, where I'll be joining the University of Delaware this August. So that my aim is to create a broader impact beyond individual care. And I currently serve as a research medical director at Glow, where we are actively raising awareness about breast cancer and the importance of early detection and regular screening, which can save lives. And we're also working towards postpartum depression, which is the most underdiagnosed conditions among the new mothers. We're actively creating tools which help young mothers identify and seek help at the right time. We're also trying to create tools powered with AI.
Fantastic. And a great preview of the conversation that's soon to come. Our last panelist is a fellow mentor like me. Sumana, would you like to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. That's such an impressive and inspiring set of youth here. Thanks, Brie, for organizing this, and thanks, Davos. So I'm Sumana Rao, and I've spent a couple of decades in the corporate world scaring club.org. We empower children and parents across India with tools for digital safety and to prevent abuse. And over the last 10 years, we've empowered about 200,000 children with safety skills. And today I'm the CEO of Glow, this youth-powered nonprofit tackling nutrition, health, and resilience across local communities. I'm based in San Diego. I'm a Harvard alum, a mom to a quietly fierce daughter, and I mentor these inspiring youth leaders at Glow on leadership and making an impact.
Fantastic. Excited to get the conversation going, guys. Again, thank you, Davos, for giving us the stage to be able to have this conversation. And if you guys have questions, comments, anything you want to add, please feel free to drop it in the chat. We'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. To kick us off, really, Tricia, founder and president of Glow, you've also been a dedicated advocate for youth voices for over a decade, meaning that you started your journey advocating for other young peers quite young. What motivated you to start Glow? And what's your vision for how Glow is going to continue and expand in the future?
Yeah, thank you, Brie. In terms of motivating, I've been involved in this type of community work for a long time. I first started my book, and when I first launched in Istanbul, like I mentioned, I was really fortunate to receive really incredible support from parents and mentors. And something also stuck with me was seeing kind of the real hope in these children's eyes. When they saw the colors of the book, they saw the book itself, and saw the poem, and they were able to really imagine a brighter future kind of despite their circumstances. Yeah. And this moment stayed with me and inspired me to do future work, but also to kind of offer this kind of same support to other youth, starting with high school students, and also give them the skills such as leadership and research to be able to do this work. So GLOW connects them with other local nonprofits working in areas like nutrition, community health, and crisis relief. And also GLOW is this multiplier where we work on amplifying each individual's impact through really collective action. And we're now focusing on expanding our team to include college and graduate students from across the US to deepen our expertise and really help our interns and organization grow further. So yeah, I see GLOW growing with including more people doing kind of more projects and really coming together to do some really amazing things. Yeah.
I love that. I think it's been incredibly fun on a mentor side too, to get to see high school students that we've worked with for a while start growing into college students, and we're expanding, and I think naturally into this new age group of people to mentor. And I think a great example of this expanding community is you, Dr. Meghna, where you're a young physician and you've already made a massive impact. I think especially in bridging the gap between the older, more established medical community and young medical students and new physicians. How do you see cross-generational collaboration impacting global health in the years to come?
Thank you for those kind words, Brie. I think as doctors, when combined with the young and driven young physicians, who come from their fresh perspectives, it becomes very powerful. And I think they form a dynamic force and they can drive a meaningful change. And I've been incredibly fortunate to work with Dr. P. Raghuram, who is a renowned breast cancer surgeon and health advisor to the Prime Minister of India. So working alongside him has only deepened my understanding about how impactful the cross-generational commitment can turn out to be, especially in areas like breast cancer, working towards destigmatizing the disease, and also highlighting the importance of early detection, which can save lives. And not only save lives, but also in turn reduce the economic burden on these communities. I like to highlight that when I was working in my rural, when it only reaches the people the right way, when it's credible, accessible, and with a lot of compassion. I think this is where the experience of established professionals and young and driven physicians become so powerful. I think the experience and the strategic thinking and the networks of the established doctors, when combined with the energy, the adaptability, and I think most importantly, the grassroots level engagement of young physicians, so when they come together, they create a rising force, I think, where we can challenge the stigma, promote prevention, and also advocate for better health outcomes in these local communities and the most underserved populations globally. And as we move forward, I truly believe that cross-generational collaboration is the heart of advocating public health in both policy and practice.
I love that. I think I've had the privilege of being in a lot of these meetings where we're getting into each of these kinds of discussions, and it's really fantastic. And I think what you're saying about having that network and that credibility as an established physician is so important to opening the doors, I think, for young people to step in and come in with new ideas, to connect with people in an interesting way. We'll come back to this too, but I think, Meghna, I'd love to know your thoughts too on your breast cancer awareness initiatives have also included men. You've worked in a lot of rural areas that haven't been served traditionally in outreach. What do you think gives you a unique edge as a young person getting into these spaces? How are you able to see it in a new or more innovative way?
Yeah, I think my work primarily focuses on spreading awareness, highlighting the importance of early screening and early detection, with regular screening, and early detection. But when I was going through in my formative years, when I was going through campaigns and social media campaigns and workshops, so I think predominantly they were all women. But what what question that I was pondering on was the disease which needs to be which when you have to combat the disease, I think it should be gender free, and you should foster open communication and open dialogue to come to holistically treat the disease irrespective of gender. It's women, men. I think affects the women of the family, women in the family. I think the entire family should come together, help her mentally, physically to combat the disease, give her the strength to. So that kind of motivated me to also talk to men, encourage men to learn the disease. Of course, we should also not ignore the fact that breast cancer can be caused in men too. So men also can, highlighted. They should have equal participation in these awareness campaigns.
Absolutely. And I think, Samarth, I want you to jump in here as well. You've got a really unique voice on this panel. And I think in a lot of Glow's work with breast cancer awareness of postpartum depression, I think your work shows how important and essential it is for men and women to collaborate to drive change in these areas. How do you think we can get more men involved? And I think especially being a younger man advocating in these areas, how can we get more young men involved in this advocacy as well?
So I think that the most important thing to look at when getting more people involved, and especially more men involved in these issues, is getting them empathetic about these issues. That's one of Glow's core values. And when I joined Glow, it's one of the values that I think was most deeply instilled in me. So through that empathy and through that understanding, I got more into advocating for these issues. And piggybacking off of what Megan said, it's absolutely true that these are not just women's issues. That's an entire family dealing with those issues. That makes it not a men's or a women's issue, but a people issue. And so I remember when Glow hosted a workshop a few months ago and my dad attended. And after hearing what we had to say, he wanted to research a lot more into these things. And so I think starting those conversations and hosting those workshops and having events where people can learn more about this and be better enabled to have their own ability to research on this can create a lot of change and a lot of awareness in men. And that can help them advocate for it. And then when it comes to younger men, I think that we're a lot more impressionable. And so if at that younger age, we're able to understand these issues, then that would just be much, much better for us. Because right now, labeling them as largely women's issues only reaches half of the population. We're not tapping into that other half. And to create the kind of change that we hope to create at Glow, we have to tap into that other half because it's not just a men's or a women's issue, it's a people's issue.
I love that too. I think, Magna, one of the things that you mentioned as well is one of the physicians who's established in the breast cancer treatment and awareness field is a man. And I think that there's huge potential in going back and forth between men and women collaborating in these areas, bringing ideas into the field. And I think that kind of peer-to-peer network can be so valuable. I think a different take on peer-to-peer that I'd love to tap Ava into here. Ava has a really fantastic role at Glow in that she leads multiple teams at Glow. How would you describe your approach to peer mentorship when you're working with people who are your age, younger, slightly older, and what makes a peer-to-peer mentorship approach successful?
Yeah, so I would say that the approach that I take at Glow, and I think is something that I've learned a lot about when it comes to peer mentorship, is that in an organization like this, leading really means listening. I would say that at Glow, our teams are really as multifaceted as the communities we serve. And I've learned that each of my peers have a different perspective, and I want to make sure that each voice is heard and synthesized into a well thought out and community-driven project. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed is how well this comes together when it comes to creating an actual material or a real deliverable. So an example of this is a series of journals that we created over the summer that was targeted at helping the mental health growth of our peers who have been displaced by conflict. We often noticed that one question that could be really good and powerful and something that established a lot of growth for someone from one community could be potentially triggering for someone from another community. And my peers of different backgrounds would often recognize and respond to different potential sensitivities in the work that we do. And that would allow us to help adapt it for these different cultural contexts. So I think that community collaboration and that open-minded approach is crucial to creating resources that allow us to establish policy that works with communities and with those sensitivities rather than against them. So overall, I would just say that I really value all the different backgrounds that all of my peers come from, our different age levels and cultures. And it's been a really rewarding experience to see the ways in which those are able to work together.
I love that. I think, and again, I get to have the privilege of working with these guys every week and seeing the stages of the work as it's coming along. But I think those conversations, the same way that it goes into breast cancer awareness of how can we value every single person's perspective here, is the same thing that goes into creating journals. And I think they're different projects, but I think they use a same foundational approach of leading by listening. And I love that. Sumana, when we were at the World Economic Forum, I think you shared a fantastic story about really putting yourself in the perspective of others and understanding the community that you serve to have the best possible impact. And it all has to do with fishing. So I would love for you to tell that story if you want to.
Yeah, thanks, Brie. So yeah, one thing that we teach our youth leaders before they solve problems is design thinking skills and research skills so that they can put themselves in the shoes of the people that they're solving problems for and co-create solutions with them so that it meets the mark. And a story that I shared in this context is, so there was an organization that donated mosquito nets to a fishing community in India to help them stay safe from malaria, right? But these fishermen were so poor that they started using those malarial nets, which have really tiny holes, as fishing nets so they could sustain and feed themselves. And so what happened was they were able to feed themselves in the short term, but it completely destroyed the ecosystem because these malarial nets started catching the little fish in the ocean and the lake around them, and suddenly it completely destroyed the ecosystem. So what that tells us is that when you're trying to solve a problem, think deeply, understand the people fully so that you're not creating other problems while trying to solve one problem. So the empathy of looking at them as complete human beings and then co-creating with them becomes very important.
Absolutely. And I think, Ava, that plays so much into what you were saying with journaling too, where you could have the absolute best intentions when you're creating a journaling question. But if that ends up being triggering or really harmful to one person because you haven't put yourself fully in their shoes, then the solution you've made to try to help may cause problems you didn't even expect. And I think that, Sumana, this is an awesome example of one of the things that we try to teach everyone. And I think that all the panelists here are fantastic at teaching within their teams, is really that empathy that comes as a core part of design thinking and putting yourself in the full perspective of the people that you're trying to help. Of, again, Ava, leading by listening, not only to your teammates, but also to the communities that you're trying to serve. Sumana, when you're stepping up into these mentorship roles, what motivates your decision to do that? Why do you want to be a part of educating and mentoring the next generation of leaders?
When I think about having an impact, I've done a few things like run nonprofits, but it's really, you can individually go only so far. And by mentoring the next generation, you have this multiplier effect where they lead and the goodness multiplies. And I've seen these young leaders do so much more than adults, right? Like designing public health solutions most adults wouldn't dare to attempt. They created a breast cancer awareness campaign that reached over 200,000 people on social media. I've seen youth techs design applications to help newcomers integrate into their communities using technology and AI. So mentoring for me isn't about transferring knowledge. It's about transferring the belief and helping these youth leaders find their purpose and then co-creating solutions with them. We don't train youth for the future. We invite them to shape the present as researchers, facilitators, policy researchers. So this is not a charity, it's a strategy to multiply the good. And Brie, I'm going to throw this back at you. You dedicate so much time to mentoring youth at Glow on research and just leadership. What motivates you to mentor the next generation of leaders?
I think I will firstly second everything that you said. I think absolutely amplifying impact, but honestly, I learned so much from you guys. I think the perspective that you guys bring, not only from each of your different life experiences, but I think from a generation that's not afraid to challenge the way that things have been done. I think that is so fascinating to me. And I love being in all of these different conversations where selfishly, I get to learn a lot. I get to learn all of these new approaches that you guys are thinking of. If we're talking about a journaling project, something that I've worked on for years in my career, you guys bring such a fresh perspective into it that really touches your generation, where you can help peers across the state, across the country, across the globe. And it's fantastic to be able to learn from you. I like being able to impart some of the skills and experiences that I have. So I hope that you guys get to learn from me as well. And I think really, Sumana, I think that is incredibly fulfilling. Just to feel like there is that mutual exchange back and forth where we're each empowering each other to do more together than we could have alone. And I think, Sonika, if you want to join in here, Sonika is the youngest panelist here today, and she's already an incredible leader. She directs health research at Glow. And I think being so young, how did you know that you were ready to step up into this leadership role and make an impact on the global stage? And then I think in addition to that, why do you think it's so important for young voices to come forward and to contribute to solutions to pressing global issues?
Yeah, so thank you, Brie. I didn't really wait until I felt ready. I was more so driven by Glow's cause and our impact. So my passion for reducing stigma and addressing these disparities in India and the United States pushed me to step up. And I gained confidence as I learned more from these other leaders and also saw the impact of mine and my team's work. And also there's so much support at Glow, especially from other youth leaders and you mentors, that made me feel empowered and never alone. So I think just stepping into that role and following what you're passionate about is important, and then you'll grow into that leadership role. And then for young voices, I think they offer fresh perspectives and innovative ideas. So an example of this was one of my first projects analyzing breast cancer stigma in the US and India. So we found that despite high literacy rates and early detection rates, stigma was still present, especially in South Asian communities in the United States. So we focused on combating that with thoughtful and inclusive outreach. And an example of this was AI. We used AI to spread awareness from these characters, that more diverse characters that people could relate to, that pushed them to go seek the help that they needed. So I think these fresh perspectives are very important. And again, it's just important that you follow your passions. It's not about being ready. It's about following what you are passionate about and then growing into that leadership role.
Absolutely. And I think I want to add on to that as well, because Sonika's being humble here. The process that she went through that led to this solution in the end was incredibly deep. And I think it started with a foundation of research. My background's in research, so I'm a little bit biased because I love it. But her project really did a massive literature review, looking at stigma, looking at which spokespeople can have the biggest impact in combating stigma. And I think, like Meghna said, a lot of these voices are women. And it's usually a peer-to-peer conversation where we're having representatives that are very similar to the community that we're trying to target come out and speak about the disease as well. But I think that stigma goes beyond just the target audience that you want to serve. And Sonika had some fantastic, I think, results with her work looking at including men as speakers, looking at including older community members, including religious leaders, where you're expanding all of this network out to really include everyone and to combat stigma from every angle. And not just finding that, but putting that into action as well. And I think the application of AI there, Sonika, is so interesting, where you can standardize a script where the same way that I'm talking, the same words that I'm using, the same mannerisms can be exactly controlled, but my voice and my face can change so that you can really see what is the impact of changing the speaker, but not changing the message. And I think that's so interesting to me. And so I think, Sonika, what do you think about that kind of project, that kind of innovation that you're bringing into AI? How are you collaborating with other peers where you're crossing disciplines, working on teams with highly technical students as well at Glow?
Yeah, so as you said, we did the background research. we went through a bunch of literary reviews, and we found that stigma stems primarily from men encouraging women to not get the help that they need, through religion, seeing that women don't want to alter their bodies that God gave to them, and then through their doctors, maybe they not having informed doctors and being discouraged from seeking that help. We did this background research, and then we needed to find solutions to this. And we were brainstorming, and my partner who I was working with this on, she suggested that we find like technology to help us. So then we came up with the solution of AI, using AI generated visuals to spread awareness. We found that women, they feel more included when hearing from breast cancer survivors and men. So we created these visuals of survivors and men to spread thoughts about awareness and where to seek help. Women feel more encouraged to share their stories after hearing from them.
I love that. And I think, Tricia, a huge credit to you as well for being so open to bringing AI. And I think your background in AI research and development is really interesting, that preceded the founding of Glow as well. What inspired you to bring AI into your personal service work? And how do you envision Glow's use of AI growing in the years to come?
Yeah, I think AI can be really powerful if used in the right way. Kind of in my past experience, I've explored how AI can support mission-driven growth by improving the overall operations behind the scenes. For example, in the research I focused on, I found that kind of AI can help simplify public outreach or make kind of campaigns like fundraising in terms of strategies much easier and more efficient. And in terms of at Glow, I think we're really using it to build creative and really practical tools like our language chatbots that kind of combine science, technology, design, art, and innovation to create something that can be really kind of easily accessible to a lot of people. And overall, I think these tools really will allow us to reach more people and strengthen our projects and make them much more innovative with AI. Yeah. And I'm sure other interns can speak about this too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think even something as simple as translating a document and being able to use AI to make this so much more accessible to different languages. Absolutely. I think that's fantastic. And Tricia's work is really interesting in that she's done so much, not just in front-facing AI, where we're really putting language learning tools in the hands of the people that we serve, but also looking at how AI can impact a nonprofit's operations. How can we use this to accelerate fundraising? How can we use this on social media to better understand how we can spread awareness to communities that are often overlooked? Ava, I think Tricia, you did a great job tapping the team in here. Ava, do you want to add in your perspective? I think you manage 2 multidisciplinary teams, and I think Glow brings together creativity and artistry with scientific research and technology. How do you facilitate cross-disciplinary collaboration like that across the teams that you manage?
Yeah, so thank you for that question. I think that the work we do at Glow is so diverse, but it comes together with such great synergy that it almost doesn't feel like it all the time. I think that science and creativity being the main 2 spheres that we work on at Glow are just 2 sides of the same coin, but they're both necessary when it comes to creating actual materials. One of the things I've learned being a young person in this space is that in the classroom, those spheres are so often separated. But when we step into creating actual materials and actual resources, they really do come together. So I think that the AI and research side of things provides a concrete basis and a mode for us to build our tools off of, whereas creativity really provides that human connection portion. So I think that one of the best examples of this is Soul.ai, which was a platform that some of our amazing interns created over the summer to help with language learning when people were introduced into new communities. So the AI side of things provided the platform to actually help create that tool to help us go from not only English to other languages, but one language to another where maybe English wasn't even in the mix. And us as interns primarily operate in English. So tools like AI not only helped us build that, but also bring in other perspectives that we might not even have had. But then the creativity aspect was the human connection. So what does the user interface look like? How can we make this accessible to somebody who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience using AI tools or even a lot of access to technology? So I think those two things really came together to create the most accessible resource possible. Another great example of this is a policy appeal that I've had the pleasure of working on. We basically target Andhra Pradesh in India, and our goal is to help increase support and funding for women with postpartum depression through this appeal. But we're also looking at a lot of different key stakeholders. We're working with corporations, we're working with politicians, and we have to have research and statistics that can back our claims. But then on the other side of things, we have to make sure that we're tailoring that research in terms of human connection. How can we make this appeal to a corporation's CSR? Or how can we tailor this research to really talk about the economic implications for a whole region when applying to someone who might be working in politics? Or even on the research level, how can a survey question be adapted to a specific community? So I think that leveraging creativity in making AI and research more human is one of the things that we do best at Glue.
I love that. I love that you're tying in not just AI, but also scientific research in this backing. And I think it is so essential to have that bridge from data to feeling, where we can tell you the data behind why this is an important change or why this is important to invest in. But if we don't tap into that emotional connection as well, what does the data mean? I think that's a fantastic point. And Martha, if you want to jump in here as well, you have such a passion for bringing economics, finance into ethics. What role should economics play in driving social change?
I'd actually like to start answering by a little bit of more background information about myself. But before that, adding to the AI thing, I think that it's amazing how we at Glow use AI kind of like a speakerphone or like a megaphone where it just amplifies our voice. I think that that's amazing. And I'm not on the AI side of the team a lot, but I think the work that you guys have done is amazing on that side as well. So a little bit more background information about myself. I want to go into business law in the future and specifically pursue corporate litigation. And to me, that means creating a social impact by keeping big companies accountable for their economic and their financial actions. And my dream career shows exactly how strong the ties are between bringing economic justice and bringing social change. So the first time that I really explored that with Glow was over last summer, where I worked to create presentations to corporate social responsibility initiatives. And we were working in order to be able to deliver more humanitarian aid, superfood bars that were packed with nutrients and could be really good for war-torn communities. So at first, I was fascinated by the work. I was finding the balance between appealing to people's wallets and appealing to their emotions. And the work that I was actually doing hadn't quite sunk in yet. I thought that, oh, I'm getting a lot of economic experience, or I'm getting a lot of financial experience, or I'm learning a lot about how business minds work through this work. But that all changed when we got back pictures of the communities that had received those humanitarian food bars, and it put faces to the work that I was doing. And the way that they were genuinely relieved to have food in their stomachs and the happiness that they had was just genuinely eye-opening. And it was incredible to me to see the impacts that something that I had thought was purely economic could have in a social sphere. So that's what I realized, that another way to look at it was that financial changes and giving somebody financial means to do better can directly allow them to have more of an impact socially. And that's also brought itself through into the postpartum depression policy advocacy things that we're doing. And I'm looking at how, when we bring economic changes to these communities, how can we bring social changes through those economic changes?
Absolutely. I think that's the same point that Ava's bringing up of finding that common ground, where you can ignite a lot of social change by having an economic drive behind it as well. And I think that's a fantastic point. And it's an interesting one too, where you and Ava working together on postpartum depression, Sonika coming in as well. We're all working on this based in the United States. And it's really fascinating to bring that perspective into local communities in India. And Meghna, you're joining us today from India. And so I'm curious to get your point of view here. What barriers exist and what advantages can come from that kind of international collaboration?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Brie. I think international collaboration today plays a key role in public health, especially in today's interconnected world. Health challenges like epidemics, pandemics, and the rise of non-communicable diseases, they do not respect borders. As countries, resources, we only, even though there are, of course, when there are international collaborations, it has its own set of challenges, time zone differences, language barriers, legal difficulties, cultural differences. Despite all of these obstacles, I think the advantages outweigh all the obstacles. One major advantage is that we can create a much wider impact and we bring in diverse perspectives which help us find innovative and sustainable solutions. And it also helps us for decision for a detect and respond to our disasters much faster and with a lot of capacity, right? This kind of collaborations also help us set global health standards and also help us come together for research partnerships where we can come out with new innovative treatments and preventive methods. I'd also like to highlight another important advantage of an international collaboration where we can work in low resource setting, where we can train our healthcare workers and improve infrastructure and also towards postpartum depression here in Andhra Pradesh and trying to go and spread over different states of India. Where our research, when we start conducting our trials and when we get more information based out of this and we can help more patients and probably we can create a multiplying effect in India and other Asian countries and even the United States. From there, I think at its core, public health is all about its health and well-being, which is organized through the local community.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think collaboration is really a part of what we try to achieve here at Glow, whether that's cross-generational, if it's international. And I think absolutely, I hope that has a huge impact on the work that we're continuing to do with postpartum depression. That in and of itself is such a multidisciplinary project. And I think we've teased at little parts of it, but we're working across physician and frontline healthcare worker education, combating stigma and patient outreach, but also developing journaling solutions as Ava has experience with, policy analysis and appeals, and even building AI to make a lot of our solutions adaptive as well. I think so much of this takes root in the mentorship relationships that we have. I think especially with mentors who are local experts. In the postpartum depression team, we've had the incredible privilege of working with local communities and learning so much from their lived experiences to really practice that empathy and put ourselves in their shoes, but also from the incredible mentors that we have on our side as well. And Sumana embodies, I think, incredible mentorship. But I'd love to know, just for our audience here, if everyone is interested in stepping up and becoming a mentor for the next generation. Sumana, what do you think is the biggest misconception adults like us have when we step into mentorship roles?
That's a great question, Brie. I think the biggest misconception that adults have when they're stepping into a mentorship role, or why some don't step in, is they feel like they need to have all the answers. But really, if you look at these young leaders, they aren't searching for a guru. They're searching for a grown-up who listens, who doesn't treat them like a project fix, but a perspective to honor. Too often we think mentorship is like coming in with a map and say, here's how you need to get from point A to point B. But what they really need is someone to just walk beside them, not pretending to know everything. This terrain of collaborative intelligence with human and AI, it's something that we're traversing together. And so what they're looking for is somebody who gives them an opportunity to co-create solutions alongside a team of talented people. And my favorite mentorship words are, what do you think about this? How do you think we can solve this? And that's not humility for show. It's a strategy for trust. So Brie, you're an amazing mentor at Glow. What do you think about this?
I agree 100%. I think I was I feel like everyone has this kind of fear, I assume, the same that I did of, I don't know that I'm ready to do this. I don't have all the answers. If you come and ask me, how do we solve postpartum depression? I don't know, but I can come up with a solution and brainstorm with you. And I think that being comfortable not knowing everything and being comfortable saying that you don't know and saying, let's find out together. I think that hopefully that creates an environment where everyone is empowered to own what they don't know and to explore together and to feel like we can have really open conversations on equal ground where we're not lording above anyone. But I think it's fantastic in a lot of our conversations at Glow where we challenge each other. And I love when you guys bring in new ideas that challenge me in the ways that I think it's hopefully a way that I think the mentors of today and tomorrow will continue to follow it in allowing these young voices to really take the stage and make the impact that they're able to. I'd love to hear from our young panelists on this question as well. Like, we mentors like to toot our own horns and say what we think is really great about ourselves. But what do you need? If we've an audience of people who might want to be mentors for the next generation, what do you need? What would make mentorship successful? Tricia, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I think for me, I think something I've experienced is that letting us fail, I would say, because I think failure can be a really valuable learning experience in a lot of ways. I think learning to deal with that failure, learning to grow from it can be really powerful in terms of gaining new skills and kind of learning something really new. So kind of giving us that really safe space to fail and kick ourselves back up again so we can learn new stuff and gain new skills and still kind of live with that failure is, I think, really valuable and really important in mentorship. Yeah, and obviously I agree with everything with the listening and with the everything Simna and Brie said. So yes, that would be my take on this question.
Love it. Giving you room to fail. Fantastic. So Mark, I saw you come off mute really quickly. Do you want to add in?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think some of my favorite moments with you guys mentoring is when you guys don't have the answers. Because a lot of the times when someone is trying to mentor, it's you're learning from what they do know. But with you guys, when you guys don't have the answers, because these are huge questions that we're trying to answer, when you guys don't have the answers, I'm learning how you guys think and approach these solutions rather than from what you already know. And I think that's some of my favorite experiences that I have with you guys.
I love that. And I'm learning right now. I feel like I didn't even think of that being a value point added there. Fantastic. Sonika, yeah, jump on in.
Yeah, so I think what makes you guys amazing mentors is that we can bounce ideas off of you. It's not that we just are faced with a challenge and then we come to you and ask you for a solution, because sometimes you might not know the best solution, but you can provide ideas that kind of help us get to the end point. And I think we can create solutions together because you foster an environment to let that happen. It's not about knowing all the answers. It's about making an environment where we feel that we can share these ideas that we have. So yeah, that's what I think about it.
I love it. Love it. Meghna, jump on in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I've experienced this kind of mentorship firsthand by myself. More importantly, I second all of my colleagues' responses, but I think it's more of a non-judgmental space. And you're constantly fueled and encouraged to think beyond and get your ideas into making them practical. So that is what I think the mentorship here we.
Love it. And Ava, do you want to round us out?
Yeah, I just wanted to take a second to highlight as well. I think the mentor-mentee relationship that you guys established here at Glow has organizational wide implications. It doesn't just affect each of us on an individual level, but like Meghna was talking about, it really fosters, and honestly everyone was talking about, it really fosters a sense of collaboration amongst interns, amongst mentors and everyone, so that we're able to have a really hands-on deck approach, which is so important in a space like Glow where we have such a depth and breadth of knowledge for people with so many different experiences, so many different backgrounds. One of my favorite moments at Glow, I think, was at one point during the summer when I came into a team meeting and I said that I had created a bunch of resources with my team, but they were catered towards displaced peers and they were kind of niche, and I wasn't really sure how to start integrating them into the community. And immediately Brie and Sprout jumped in and started talking about how we can foster collaboration around this. And as young people, we have an amazing social media team. I think we really leverage the power of social media at Glow, but that's not really a side of our operations that I'm as involved in. So our social media team immediately jumped in and said, here's how we can start creating posts and here's how we can start collaborating different verticals. At Glow, we have 3 main verticals talking about breast cancer and health equity research, food security, as well as the refugee work that I do, and talking about how we can then leverage all 3 verticals across social media platforms, and including some contacts that I could reach out to personally. And I think that if I had come with this decision or this issue and it had been immediately, here's what you do, here's the prescribed solution, we would have missed out on this great opportunity for collaboration. And so I just want to take a moment to thank you guys for fostering that incredible environment.
Thank you for taking part in it. And I think, again, Ava's being really humble here, where she does the same thing in every moment where she's leading as well. And I think each of these young people, while Suma and I have the privilege of being in a mentorship role, each of these people on the panel is mentoring younger people as well, where we're all hopefully lifting other parts of the team up and empowering each other to make an impact in the future. I know we're at about an hour here, Robin, if we need to wrap up, but we're also happy to take questions if the audience has anything that we touched on a little lightly or you guys want us to revisit.
Yeah, feel free to take a few questions.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. What's on the calendar for 2026? I like it. Una, do you want to give us an overview on what's on the calendar for the next year?
We're kicking off a summer with onboarding more youth leaders. So the team here is kind of in the process of hiring new interns, and some of the projects that they're working on is continuing some of the work that we've already done, which is in the area of scaling our work in the area of breast cancer awareness and research, scaling our work on the postpartum side of things. On the food side of things, the team's working on creating a nutritional chatbot to help teens learn how to eat in a healthy way. And so these are some of the projects. And then we have a art therapy workshop that we've laid a blueprint to this last quarter. It's scaling that work as well. So that's what's on the map for 2025 and 2026 as well.
Absolutely.
And I think like Brie said, I don't have all the answers. So the team here is going to shape some of the newer things that we'll come up with in 2026 and beyond as well.
Great minds think alike. Exactly where I was going with that. I think with summer hiring, and I think with each of these guys taking leadership and mentoring a new team this summer, there are going to be so many new voices that come onto the team at the end of 2025. And that is going to shape largely what we want to do in 2026, where a lot of this comes from the perspectives and passions that each of our team members bring in. And then I think we have one more question on a favorite project in terms of impact. So if we all want to go through really quickly and just maybe mention the favorite project that we've worked on so far. Tricia, do you want to get us started?
Yeah, I can. Yeah. As Simna mentioned, I've been part of the kind of work to do the art therapy workshops. So these workshops, we basically take easy accessible art supplies, specifically like reusable ones like plastic, buttons, things you could pick up around the house. And then we would go to like really public places such as libraries and do these kind of 2-hour workshops where people would be able to pick a prompt and be able to process their emotions through creating this artwork, feel a sense of community with other people, and just in general, like kind of instill a sense of hope or purpose in themselves. I think being able to see these happen and see how for all these people who maybe felt really seen with this workshop, that somebody cared about them, that they mattered, especially these minority neighborhoods a lot of the time. I think that was really valuable to see in terms of impact. And while it definitely wasn't the biggest impact project, I think just seeing like it on a really personal level, like I think there were people who were like crying by the end of it. And we had someone who came in that felt like he had kind of like a tumultuous relationship with his mother, well, she died. And he said that this really gave him a sense of closure for her kind of death and for their relationship as a whole. So I think seeing moments like that to me was really personal, really impactful. And it's kind of an artist myself. That's something I definitely relate to in terms of doing art and it being a way to process emotions and a way to de-stress. So yeah, that was probably my favorite project.
I love that. Alva, do you want to jump in next?
Yeah, so I think that we created a package of resources over the summer for displaced peers, whether that be the AI platform that I was talking about earlier, the journals which we've discussed, or even certain soft skill workshops. I think that whole experience was probably my favorite project at Glow, just because that's the one that's also been deployed and we've gotten to hear back from. And Samarth was talking about earlier, being able to put a face to the work that we do is always really rewarding. I know we spent a lot of time trying to make it accessible to kids and to make it feel like a space that was welcoming and comforting. And so to hear back from some of our target demographic that had used the materials, saying that it was really fun for them or they really enjoyed the experience, they learned a lot from it, was really rewarding because it felt like this isn't just busy work that I'm doing. I'm not just trying to learn myself. I'm also creating a really tangible impact. Yeah.
I love that. Sonika, do you want to share?
Yeah, so I think the breast cancer awareness program has been the most impactful on my end because I've seen it from beginning to end. Again, I shared that we did the research, we went through all of these articles and saw what the main causes of stigma are. And then we put that into real world research with the AI project. So I think that's one of the biggest. And then also, as Tricia shared, the eco art therapy, I'm looking to do that here during summer in Colorado. So Tricia shared with me the videos and the pictures from her art therapy workshop, and I just felt that was a great cause. And I'm looking forward to hosting one of those as well.
Magda, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, definitely. I think the breast cancer awareness or the campaign that we've organized, especially catering to the young boys, especially who are doing their undergrad and postgrad courses, I think reaching out to them was a very special part of the event because more they're well informed and they can stand like a pillar of support, like an emotional support for their mothers, sisters, aunts, neighbors, and they can also talk to them about it, have an open communication in their homes, talk to the event. And I'd also like to talk about the art event that was conducted by Tricia, and I'd also like to do it in my city as well. Yeah, so these are short things to do.
I love that. And I think that embodies what we try to do at Glow too, where each of us comes up with our own idea that comes from our own passions and perspectives. And we create a framework so others can emulate and move that around the world as well. So Marth, what's been your favorite project so far?
Loving economics as much as I do, I think that my favorite project has been the CSR initiative one, where not only did I have a great chemistry with my team of 3, but also presenting to for-profits and seeing the results were actually incredible. And that has completely changed my outlook on everything. So the impact that it's had, not only on the world, but the impact that it's had on me was the greatest for me. And so I really love that project.
Absolutely. Yeah. And Samarth is referring to something he brought up earlier of leveraging corporate social responsibility initiatives to deliver food aid. Yeah. Sumana, what's been the most impactful project for you?
For me, all of them, right? Every time I see somebody's work making an actual tangible impact to even one human being, I think we won as a team. All of them bring me a lot of joy.
Absolutely. I think for me, I am really looking forward to the postpartum depression work that we're taking on. Our on-the-ground data collection is going deep this summer, and all of our project development is going to be a huge focus for our new volunteers coming on over the summer, and will hopefully continue on as we're scaling our work into 2026. So thank you guys so much for your questions. I think hopefully this has been as fun for you as it has been for me. I always love getting to dive into conversations like this. So it's just a peek into what our weekly conversations are like.
Mm-hmm.
For next webinar is on Wednesday, 11th of June, Beyond Crisis, Why Sustainability Matters Most in Challenging Environments. So register for that and check our links. Again, would you like to host a Davos webinar? Don't hesitate to apply. And then maybe you're on the next stage with our community. So I just want to, again, thank you to all the panelists. And with that, thank you for showing up and contributing with your presence and energy. And yeah, see you at Davos Summit 2026.